What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode, what number is it? Yeah, 197 of Lemme Get That Podagraph. As always, we're live here on YouTube, as well as you'll be hearing us on the pod waves as well later on today. My name, of course, is Drew DH, and joining me, my awesome co-host, Mr. Scott Rappaport. What's up, dude?
What's going on, Drew?
My sleep's all messed up. It's a weird week, man.
It is definitely a weird week. We're recording Friday instead of Wednesday, and everything's
That's my fault. Long Beach, California, long trip, red eye.
No, exactly. And of course, I got to leave straight from here. I got a huge soccer tournament this weekend.
Nice.
I got games for, and got to do field setup and all that kind of stuff. So, nice thing is it's a home tournament for us, so I don't have to go that far. That's 5 minutes. 5 minutes from my house. But
that's what I'm looking forward to about the next Collecticon. This one was in Long Beach. Next one's in Charlotte. So
there you go.
Have to fly. I like that.
I mean, you're still like 2 hours from Charlotte, though, aren't you?
Like hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, okay, that's not bad. That's drivable every day.
It depends on traffic, It could be an hour and a half, but normally about an hour 15 minutes.
Okay, that's not bad. So you're not that far from. So you're only maybe 45 minutes from Mooresville then,
about 30, 45 minutes.
What's his name? That Panthers player's house blew up.
Yeah.
I mean that's just
crazy
and tragic.
I know.
But aside from crazy and tragic,
yes.
So last week, Iowa Dave, _Dave on Instagram, another, host another podcast. He's got a blog that he posts out there. It's a great blog. And he decided that he was going to listen to 62 podcast episodes.
Fucking dedication.
In a week.
Yeah.
Which is like dedicating over 8 hours a day, to doing this. And
I'm assuming he 2x'd them. I would. At least.
Well, he said there were some that he 1.5x'd, but there were some that he didn't.
Okay.
So it's but it's still
that's a lot of time, man.
Like I thought it was absolutely insane.
Even if you 2x it, it's still over 4 hours a day. I mean,
I know. But then he went a step further. He took notes on every episode, and he put those. And he decided after we got done to write an article about it. And he put his notes on every show at the end of the article, and he didn't rank them or anything like that. He just put them in the order in which he listened to the show.
Yeah.
The notes on ours is number 44. If you guys want to go down there and listen to that. But there's a lot of other good podcasts that are out there that, they listen to as well. But in his detailed article, he brought up 4 points. And we were the only podcast that were mentioned, period.
Yeah.
In the main of the article, you sent me a screenshot of it and it was amazing. So I just want to read this really quick because this was awesome. And he listened to the episode where we talked about Wander Franco from a couple weeks ago. That was during that week.
Difficult episode to do.
No, exactly. So point number 4, we need to talk about Wander Franco. Early last week, news broke that Franco might have had an illegal relationship with a minor, left his team, the Tampa Bay Rays. Well, the story dominated not just the hobby cycle, but the larger sports news cycle. The hobby podcast, Let Me Get That Podagraph, hosted by Drew Herndon and Scott Rappaport, taught a masterclass in how to handle news like this professionally and delicately. They spent a decent amount of time first discussing the allegations and the reporting that others have done, and they sourced everything, what's known, what isn't known, and then once that was all laid out, they shared informed opinions. Then finally, and they briefly and tastefully discussed the potential effects on Franco's card market. Take a bow, LGTP. Unfortunately, that's not how we as a hobby handled it collectively. Other attempts at coverage, not all, but some, ranged from paraphrasing crap from Twitter to gleaning whatever might have been said during a 30-second drive-by of ESPN.
Shocker.
Yeah, worst of all was this all-too-common approach. Oh, yeah, hey, if the allegations are true, Wander's disgusting and should get punched in the face and thrown in jail. So let's talk about why prospecting is hard. If we want to be taken seriously as a hobby or as content creators, we need to follow LGTP's example when it comes to sensitive and potentially criminal topics, perspective, sources, patience, tact. Yes, exactly. Be measured. Of course, we should also talk about Franco's card market. There's a place for that, but let's remember first to be human. So I just want to point it out. It's my little pat on the back for ourselves.
Well, first off, thank you, Iowa Dave, for the incredibly nice comments. Thank you.
Yeah, and that was great. He did initially leave my name out of that.
Yes, he did.
But he was, I reached out to him, and I followed him on Instagram. I actually followed him on Instagram, and then he reached out to me and apologized for not putting it in there. He's like, I tried to find, everybody associated with it. It's like, all right, cool. Not a big deal, but, he wound up correcting it later, and that's awesome. So props to Dave for that, for issuing that correction. But no,
I thought that was really cool that he saw that, because I want to talk about that episode for a second, because whenever stuff like that happens, it's never fun to talk about. And when you're doing a podcast that's about collecting, to try and take something like that and still cover the collecting side is a difficult thing to do. It's not easy, because obviously there's 5 million things more important than his card market. And so we talked before. We don't talk and prep much before the show. We talked about how we wanted to handle it, how we wanted to move through it. And, I'm glad that other people can see that, because that's what we always try and do, is be as sensitive as we can with it, but still cover what we're here to do, because you can turn on ESPN or 800 other shows and hear all of the details that you want to hear and all the speculation you want to hear. We're going to tell you what we know. Like he said, I'm glad he knows this, sourced everything.
That's the key.
Recording out there, source your shit. I'm just glad other people can see it, because it's that was one of the more uncomfortable things I've recorded on this show in a long time. I was not looking forward to that segment, and I'm normally looking forward to any segment we do. I did not want to talk about that. And I'm glad that, it showed through on the airwaves, at least to one person.
Well, it brings up the point that I made a couple of weeks ago. I don't see us as content creators. I mean, although we do create content, I don't see us as that. I don't see us as, talking, just out there to get clicks and things like that. I see us more from a journalistic aspect of things, and also an opinion aspect of things as well, because we do give our opinions on things.
Yeah.
And part of that, even with opinion writing and opinion broadcasting, there's an aspect of journalism that has to be done. That includes sources, that includes handling things professionally, that includes, when we do speculate on things, we do say, hey, we are speculating here.
Right.
Exactly. Hey, this is just a guess. And we've got a couple of stories coming up later today where we better believe we are going to be doing some speculating.
Oh, absolutely.
But it just goes to that point. I am glad, just like you are, that, somebody sees, we're trying to bring a sense of professionalism to what we do. And you've got experience as a beat writer for the Panthers back in the day, and journalism background. I've got background radio production, business and all that kind of stuff. And I know that look, you can't not source.
No.
You can't try to steal stuff and try to make it your own when it actually belongs to somebody else. And this is not going to fly.
No.
And you can't also go out there just making accusations.
Exactly.
And speculations, because it's a great way to get yourself in trouble.
Oh yeah.
Especially
these days.
Yeah, there's other shows that are out there that do that. And look, every once in a while he gets one right. But 9 times out of 10,
of course you are. I mean,
9 times out of 10 is completely wrong. Yeah. And frankly, I'm surprised he hasn't been sued a million times.
I know.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. You know. Yeah. But thank you to Iowa Dave for that. It's a really great article, and it
absolutely,
a lot of really good podcasts. So if you do enjoy content in the hobby, I do highly recommend checking out his article. Again, if you want to search for him on socials, Iowa_Dave, you'll easily find him. He'll be following, or someone will be following him, and it'll be easy to find. Before we move on to our first big topic, I do want to say one thing. Want to give a big shout out and my condolences to the Rotunda family. I'm actually very close with the Rotunda family. Most of you know him as Bray Wyatt, who passed away recently. I actually grew up. My stepdad did a lot of work with his family. I knew his father. I got to actually play with Bray Wyatt and his brothers when they were kids. I've got pictures of those my mom's frantically looking for now. But I knew that family a little bit, got to meet up with him at a recent WWE event a couple of years ago before he left the first time. Wonderful, wonderful guy. So I know a lot of people are hurting from that, as he was a favorite of a lot of people. So if you are a wrestling fan, and or even if you just knew who he was, you know, my condolences to those people. It's been a rough week for a lot of people with stuff like that. He was a very influential person. So
yeah. Now, just curious, is he related to Jonathan Rotunda from Roto Breaks?
No.
I know. I mean, like I saw the name, saw his real last name, and I'm
to
like,
be quite honest, I don't know. I don't
Okay.
think so. But it's quite possible. His father was the legendary IRS from back in the day, the tax accountant wrestler that everyone remembers. He had a really good stint in NXT as they named him Husky Harris, and he somehow passed that name all the way and was able to survive that and become Bray Wyatt, who became the Fiend, who's sitting right here, who became just this crazy, out of control dude. But he was a visionary and very, very different, kind of this generation's Undertaker almost. That's kind of what he was being built up as. Even got the seal of approval from Undertaker. He was headed for really big things. And tragically, life cut short at 36 due to a heart condition triggered by COVID. So, yeah, rough one right there. But didn't want to spend too much time on it. Just wanted to say condolences to the Rotunda family. As you know, we have a couple of family ties to them. So hit me a little tough this week. But let's move on now, man. We got a bunch of pretty crazy topics. The hobby's absolutely just out of control right now. Absolutely out of control. And guys, please, if you're watching live on YouTube or if you jump in, leave your comments during the break or at the end of the show. We will answer any questions or comments that you do have. We greatly appreciate all of the people checking out YouTube. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell, all that cool stuff people tell you to do. All right. So let's dive into it, man. Panini. Are they ever going to take a break? My God.
This one is a very much self-inflicted wound.
Oh, this is 1,000% self-inflicted. This is ridiculous.
This is
beyond ridiculous.
I mean, this actually goes back to the, talking about the article and sourcing your material.
Yes.
Because it seems that Panini settled a lawsuit that Wildcard brought to them. $25 million because one of the inserts, and what year was it? Was it 2021?
In 2020, they brought it back, and then it was in the 2021 product also, and then it came out on their NFT line as well as a special insert set and in certified.
Yeah, well, they
threw it everywhere.
They basically completely ripped off a card design that Wildcard had used back in the 90s.
Not even just a little bit.
No, not even like remotely a little bit.
Straight up ripped. Front and back. Front and back. The back's almost worse than the freaking front. Like the back was enough to get him immediately. Like when I saw this, I looked, I was like, maybe the back's all right. Nope. Identical. Same way they numbered the cards, everything. I don't understand this at all. They just paid Wildcard more than Wildcard, the original company, AAA Incorporated, which is what they're known by. They just paid them more money than they ever dreamed of making as a company.
Yeah, because they knew, Panini knew that if it went to trial, that it was going to wind up costing them a hell of a lot more. And honestly, I think it was a smart decision to settle it.
It was a very smart decision because they don't need negative court decisions in their favor going against them.
No, exactly. Now it's still going to be negative, but here's the thing. Here's what we don't know. We don't know who the product designer was that decided to put this together. And I guarantee you that there's no way that they independently thought about that design and thought it up on their own. Because it is literally, if you look at the front, you look at the back, every single design element.
No, the card we're talking about is in Certified Football. It is the Stat Smashers insert. Now, not only is the front and back identical, they took the Stat Smasher insert logo. They didn't even change it. You could have changed, it's a broken up letters, weird looking, with a little boom, from a comic book logo, like a boom background behind it. You could have even changed up the points on it a little. Nah. Just straight up took the logo off of the card. I don't get this.
How this passed and nobody noticed is beyond me.
Well, I mean, you've got a legal team that looks through this stuff too. I mean, and we were talking, they've got good legal representation, at least at the top, but apparently the legal team in charge of looking at cards is when I saw this blew my mind. Like,
Yeah.
this lawsuit was filed in February. It was very quiet, but it's been out there since February. They did just settle it. It was set to go to court this week, actually, on Thursday. But they did settle it. But man, this one is just this is just ridiculous. This card is a straight up 1000% identical reprint of this card with just certified instead of wild card. The back is identical. They moved the Panini logo down where the NFLPA logo is. But other than that, the cards are literally the same.
So I have questions. Because I have always got questions.
Yeah.
So who was the designer that, decided to phone it in and instead of coming up with something brand new, decided just to rip off the wildcard design? Are they still employed with Panini?
Yeah.
Or, here's a big or, because again, we're talking about a product that came out in 2020. Were they one of the people that wound up over at Fanatics?
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
That was my first question, because I know people now that are in the product development arena at Panini.
Yep.
I know multiple people in there. And I know that division has been almost completely changed since the mint, when a lot of people left. That's when all of these new hires went to product development. So it would not surprise me one bit if that person was an employee at Fanatics. Now, once again, as we mentioned earlier, that's speculation.
Yes.
But
and that's why I said I have a question. And, that's why I didn't state it as a fact.
Exactly.
I asked it as a question.
Exactly.
It's, what are they going to do?
I know.
But now here's another question. If that particular product designer is one of the guys or girls that moved over to Fanatics, what does Fanatics do?
Right.
Does Fanatics retain them?
Yeah.
Or, and if they retain them, you better believe that they, their people are going to check every single thing, that they do to make sure that there's no, even down to the littlest pixel. In designs, you have to. Or are they going to say, yeah, you screwed up? Or because, again, this lawsuit was filed in February.
Yeah.
And it was quiet.
Very
I'm wondering if this was maybe this was the one person from the product development team that didn't go over to Fanatics, or, maybe, and honestly, it could be somebody that left Panini a long time ago for various reasons. And, and is somewhere else. Maybe they're at Wildcard. Who knows? Maybe they went to Wildcard as a product designer and say, "Hey, I stole this design. You should."
I ripped you guys off a couple of years ago.
And again, there's no evidence to say that that's the case, but they could literally be anywhere. They could be out of the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
They could be working doing design for somebody else.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to know what happened to the designer.
Yeah.
Because look, this is just straight up laziness.
No, this isn't. There's no way you can look at this card and point to one thing and say no, that this shouldn't, or this is different. Like it's a blatant, straight up 1000% ripoff. Now you're already, Fanatics needs to be, and I thought about this when all these people from Panini went to Fanatics. I was like, I wonder if we see some of the same problems that we're going to that we saw. At Panini. And with the new Merlin Soccer release, you're missing serial numbers on tons of cards. Now that they just so happen to buy a printing company, that did the same bullshit the last couple of years, you're seeing problems like that. I'm wondering, they might need to take a look at some of the people on their team that they hired. You know what I mean? This person could be employed there, but
but I don't think Merlin is an issue. Merlin is the same product designers that have been working on it since 2020.
No, not the product designers in Merlin. I'm just using that as an example of the issues that they're having. They are having a lot of issues right now with products that are coming out.
Well, they've had issues with products that have been coming out of the Italian print shop for years, dating all the way back to
the initial release.
Well, dating it back to 2020 when Formula One Chrome came out.
Right, that was their first mass release from that.
Yeah, point. And that just anything serial numbered, all the cards were damaged.
Yeah.
they did the little arm that pushes the card into the into the stack that goes into the packing machine.
Little gash to him.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't calibrated right. I mean, everything that could have gone wrong from that situation did go wrong, and they've slowly been fixing those things.
Slowly.
Yeah, and then look, we've seen other products with Topps missing serial numbers too. And we've seen some, like there's a Topps Chrome. Is either Topps Chrome or Bowman Chrome? I don't remember.
Bowman Chrome where there's like certain parallels.
Yeah, there's a certain player that has a parallel. It's like I think it's like the blue parallel where every card has the same serial number to 150. Now there's still only
actually not just him. It affected like 7 or 8 players and 5 or 6 serial numbers, and it was all the same thing. They all had like 102 out of 150 or something. Every single one of them. Yeah.
Right now, there's still only 150 of them.
Right. Yeah.
But there's not like 1 out of 150, 2 out of 153.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just I mean those are things that should have been caught.
Yeah.
But it's so I'm curious as to what happens with this.
Me too. Now, does Fanatics? Now, I understand Panini settling to avoid. I mean, you like I said earlier, you don't want any negative, court decisions coming down in your favor when you're trying to fight off a giant like Fanatics and things like this. But a settlement is still going to be obviously public record. It's still going to be in the system in a way that this was settled. So do you think Fanatics, uses this in a way, or does this hurt Panini in their other lawsuits that they have? Because
I actually don't think it does, because this is the settlement is Panini taking responsibility for it and saying, look, guys, we're sorry.
Yeah, we fucked up. Yeah.
We fucked up. We missed it. Yeah. Here's a payment to take care of that. We're not going to wait for a judge or a jury to tell us that we have to pay you. Right. They probably told Wildcard privately what happened to that designer.
Of course.
And said, look, guys, we apologize profusely. Here's money. Yeah. Which is I think that $25 million is well above what Panini made, in profit on that card.
Oh, so, God, yes.
On that subset. So I think that I think it was, like I said, I think it was a good move. And I don't think it's going to hurt him with any of the lawsuits.
Now, one thing I don't know, it went to the trustee of AAA Wildcard, the original company. Wildcard is back, but from my understanding, when I spoke with the people at Wildcard in person 2 years ago at the National in Atlantic City when they were doing their debut relaunch, and we talked about it on this show after the National, I thought that was a father-son deal from the original owners. So I don't know if possibly it was one of the original owners and this trustee someone else. So I don't know if the company that's out now as Wildcard are the people that actually got this settlement or not. But if I'm not entirely, like I said, they probably made more than the Wildcard name has, even since it's Resurgent 2 ever made with this one card right here.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about that either, whether or not the trustee is the original owner.
Yeah, not sure.
Or if it's the current owner, or if it's a situation like with Leaf
where they had
buying, where they bought the name. I'm not entirely sure what that structure is, but it would make sense that it would, the settlement would wind up going to the original owner because
it went to the trustee of AAA. I just don't know who that was.
And that was because again, that design was done during the original iteration of the company back in the 90s.
They were released in, I believe the originals were 92 to 94. Wildcard football. They were only in there for a couple of years, just like Certified brought them back as a case hit. They're a case hit in 2020 and 2021 Certified football. Wildcard's originals were around 92 to 94.
Okay. And I'm curious as to what's going to happen with now that it's out there and it's well known. Because again, when the lawsuit was initially filed, nobody really knew about it. It was done quietly.
It was also filed under AAA, so no one saw Wildcard's name, put 2 and 2 together. And
that makes sense. But I'm curious as to what's going to happen to those card values now.
Me too.
For the Panini versions.
Good.
Because it's something that anything scandalous, it always winds up popping the value on it. So I kind of wish I had, known about this like 2-3 weeks ago.
I know.
Start picking a couple of those up. And obviously, secondary market sales and all that kind of stuff that has nothing to do with, because Panini doesn't make any money on that. That obviously,
Right.
That kind of money isn't part of the lawsuit or anything like that. But another one just to go down in history. It would actually be really cool to get an original and a Panini ripoff.
Yeah.
To keep side by side.
Now, see, if you get to 2021, they actually changed the design up some. They changed, they kept this, like I was saying before, they kept the similar elements, but tweaked it enough so it's a completely different looking card. Now, the backs, they tweaked a little bit, but the 2020 ones are the ones that are straight up identical. And looking at them now, at least the new ones that are listed, they're selling decent. They're not, anything super expensive or anything. But if you look right now, the amount that have sold in the last day is quite impressive to what's been sold in the past.
Yeah.
So the attention is coming on them a little bit. And one of the certified Peytons got a best offer of over $50. A Joe Burrow sold today for around 90, it looks like. So, it looks like that. I have a feeling that these are going to be some cards that you're going to see graded a little bit more. You're going to see eventually one of those, like you said, like I always think back to the Rodman that had Jordan in it from Kentucky a few years back. That card's still today. Now, granted, that was a rare instance that they actually did go back and pull the card from packs. So all of the second and third runs didn't have the Rodman in it. Only the first run did. And not many times do they do that nowadays, or do they catch it in time before those runs are done. But this kind of reminds me of a card like that, which has a very big, cult following background. The John Morant card with 800 different celebrities in the background. I think you and me are in there somewhere as well.
Yeah, the Mark Jackson with the Menendez brothers.
Yeah.
And,
they're going to have more value now than they did before.
The one that I'm actually surprised doesn't carry a massive premium, especially from that set. Actually, I don't even, because I got a hat set on top of it. Same year as the Mark Jackson was the Sam Vincent.
Yeah.
That has Michael Jordan. The only card that has Michael Jordan wearing number 12.
Yeah.
And that was due to his jersey being stolen before the game and having to wear a backup jersey and stuff like that. But that I'm actually surprised the Jordan collectors don't go nuts for.
Me neither. Now, I will say there's a lot that gets submitted for grading, at least through Gem Mint, because I process a ton of those cards. That's one of, probably after the Jordan and the Mark Jackson, that's probably the third highest one that I get from that set that's subbed, or at least that I've processed of the millions and millions that I've done. So people do, but yeah, I'm surprised it doesn't get more love than the other cards.
Yeah, and they sell. Look, the PSA 10 sell for a decent amount. I picked up a PSA 9 for like $20 just because I wanted one in my collection and I didn't have the card. So it makes it nice.
So we'll follow, keep you updated on the Panini lawsuit, but Panini's settling $25 million with Wildcard or AAA Incorporated's trustee over 2020-2021 certified Stat Smashers case hit inserts. And thank you to everybody watching live on YouTube. Make sure to drop your questions and comments down below. We will get to them at the end of the show today. But Scott, we were talking about speculation earlier.
Oh, yeah. And this entire next segment is pure speculation. The entire thing.
Speculation.
The entire thing is speculation. Yeah. So I was going through the Topps Chrome cards that I have because I wanted to pull. I had already pulled the Otanis. I already pulled the Acuñas.
Right.
But the MVP race in the National League is heating up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go through and pull out the Freddie Freemans, the Matt Olsons, the Mookie Betts, and I noticed something.
Yeah, I've noticed this too. I'm glad you did.
Now, so I did a case at the National. I've done probably 10 blasters in addition to that.
Sure.
And the blasters are hit or miss because, again, you're not doing quantity. You're
right.
There's a limited number of packs, things like that. And I'm not talking about refractors. I'm strictly talking about base. I noticed something. So I've got like 9 or 10 Acuñas, 9 or 10 Otanis that have come from all the rips.
Yeah.
But when I go back through with the Olsons, the Freemans, the Mookie Betts.
The guys that were MVP favorites to start the year or when Chrome was being
yeah.
Yeah.
I have like 3 Mookie Betts.
I have none.
Like 4 Freddie. Well, you haven't opened the quantity that I've opened though.
I've opened a lot though.
And look, if I'm opening a case, I think like probably 6 or 7 of the 10 Otanis and Acuñas that I've got came out of the case.
Right. Yeah.
So, and look, I understand, the way things pack out and things like that, but you would think that they would be within 1 or 2 of each one. Yeah. But no, I've got 3 Mookie Betts. I've got like 4 Matt Olsons.
Yeah.
3 Freddie Freemans. Are they short printed?
I absolutely think they are. And
did they, knowing, like, because again, Topps announced before the product came out that, hey, we're bringing back the MVP promotion. And I don't know why, if they did short print those guys, I don't know why they didn't short print Ohtani.
I don't either.
I understand Acuña.
Yeah.
Because again, he wasn't an MVP favorite going into the season and going into when they, started doing product design and printing and things like that. But knowing that they were going to bring back the MVP buyback program, did they short print the favorites?
If you want my opinion, 1,000% yes. I noticed this after. Now, I personally haven't opened up cases, but I've been around besides someone like you, like about 5 other people, and watched them open jumbo cases. I've opened well over a case of both megas, blasters, any retail collation you can think of. I've literally opened hundreds of those boxes. I have no Freddie Freemans, no Mookie Betts, and a Matt Olson. I don't have those cards. They don't exist, and I I can't find them. And I've seen multiple other people say the same thing. When you brought this up to me, I laughed because I was like, I had this conversation literally 2 weeks ago with somebody saying that I can't find any of the MVP candidates in base. I 100% think they're short printed. I can't even find them in retail parallels where I've pulled multiple Acuñas, multiple Otanis, all of that in the sepias, the X-fractors, the refractors, all of it. I 100% think that at least when it comes to the National League favorites, 1,000% those guys are either not in the first run and they're coming out later and they're just going to be in every damn pack around. But I absolutely think that these, maybe not to the extent of being called a short print.
Yeah.
Are they that low? But yes, I do absolutely think they printed less of those cards than they did the rest of the base set.
Yeah, well, I mean, having it being a something called a short print, like an image variation or things like that, definitely not that short.
No.
But again,
but I do absolutely think that they were printed less.
And is it going to come back to bite them in the ass if it winds up being Ohtani and Acuña?
I really hope it's Ohtani and Acuña, or I hope it's someone else that wasn't short printed. I mean, I think Acuña made a pretty big statement last night, breaking some records. With that,
and getting married.
Yeah, and getting married. A pretty good way to cap off the end of your marriage day. Your wedding day, boom, grand slam to win the game.
And that was a hurried marriage. ESPN did an article about that. They posted that today, and it's a great story.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, nothing illegal, nothing,
No, it's just a feel-good story. Yeah.
Yes. Well, no. They did get married quickly, so his wife was, was able to stay in the country.
Yeah.
Because she had some visa issues and would have had to go back to Venezuela with, and probably take the kids with, and they wouldn't have been with him during the playoff run and things like that. But they've been together for years. They have, they've got 2 kids together. They've been living here and things like that. She just would have had to go home for 3 months.
Right.
And he
doesn't want to deal with that, right? I mean, you don't want to deal with that when you're trying to go through a pennant race too, take care
exactly. So, and I fully believe that they intended to get married at some point anyway. In fact, I think that their wedding scheduled for after the season was over or next year or something like that. So it's not, it's not like it was a, hey, you need a green card. Come on in. I'll marry you today. It wasn't like that at all. But ESPN did a great article on that. So I'm curious as to what's going to happen with that and whether or not, Topps actually comes out and says, we kind of did short, a couple of these guys, for that. And, I don't blame them.
No, I don't either. Now, one thing I am curious about is, while we stick to the tops and the tops chrome, and one thing I wanted to touch on that I didn't think about till now, and that's the taco fractor. Okay, well, we're talking about short prints. I want to bring back up tacos, even though it's Friday, not Tuesday. All right, so someone posted this the other day. All right, we've seen the taco fractors. We've seen Top say that you need to be following along because there's going to be a major announcement regarding these cards. Someone pulled one the other day that is a wild card. While we talk about wild card, yes, it's literally the taco fractor design with no player on it. It just says wild card, and it's card number 300 in the set.
Huh.
Yes. It's
well, considering they only made 200 of the 220 cards as taco fractors.
This one is, for some reason, numbered 300. All it says on the front is wild card. And then on the back, it has the same stuff. It has just like general information about the taco fractor set. And so they haven't released what the bonus is for the taco fractor yet these cards are selling for an absurd amount of money right now. They kind of need to announce this ahead of time, I think.
All right,
sooner rather than later.
Hold on,
because if it's a terrible look, these cards are selling for a lot of money. If this ends up being not an awesome surprise, then a lot of people are really wasting a lot of money. These cards are selling for absurd amounts.
All right, here's my thought, and I just thought about this. I kind of put two and two together. You know how they do the Taco Bell promotion usually during the World Series, sometimes the playoffs, where swipe a bag, win a taco.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's going to have something to do with that, where if a specific player steals a base during a given game, if you have that taco fractor, one of the 5, maybe you get tacos for a year, or tacos for life from Taco Bell, or something like that. And the wild card one at that point would become ridiculously valuable. It would be ridiculously valuable.
This has to be This has to be an insanely short printed card, because it's the first one we've seen. Well, obviously there's only 5, but this is the first
we haven't seen. We haven't seen taco fractors of every player hit the market yet. So, so obviously there's that, but obviously, and obviously if it was hitting a break or something like that, I guess they'd have to random it off to the entire break, because it was a wild card or something like that. But, it's very possible that there's 5 maybe there's 5 wild cards. There's, 5 of the 200 players. And I'm willing to bet it's going to have something to do with, if they steal a base during the World Series or something like that, then you get some massive thing from Taco Bell. The question is, will that person have to give up the card in order to receive the prize, or will they get a replacement card with a slightly different design in exchange for that? Or are they gonna put a little serial number stamp on it and send it back that says it's been redeemed, or something, something like that. That's what I'm curious about. But I think that's probably going to be what the promotion is.
I could see that. I have a feeling, now that I think about it, World Series playoff run, something like that could make sense. But we'll see. I was curious that I saw the wild card pop up, and I was like, this kind of throws a new little wrinkle into the taco fractor set.
Unless they're using the wild card to replace any player that doesn't have a taco fractor.
That's true.
If one of the rookies, that isn't in Chrome, that doesn't have a taco fractor, because they came up in August or whatever, and they wind up at the plane in the World Series, if they steal a bag, is that where the wild card comes into play? Or does it mean that the wild card is in play for literally any player, period, whether they have a taco fractor or not? And I guess we're going to have to wait for Topps to come out with what, this is and what the rules are.
Right. Yeah. But I think they need to do it sooner than later. Personally, it's just me. I'm seeing a lot of people spend a lot of money on these cards. Don't want a whole bunch of people to get burned by something that could be very underwhelming. I hope it's I hope it's something worthwhile, because these cards are definitely getting jacked up compared. I mean, they're selling for more than a lot of other cards numbered to 5 of players. People are putting a decent amount of money in this, thinking it's going to be something big. So I just hope people are getting their money's worth.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And speaking of money's worth,
yes,
for those of you listening on the podcast, we need some of that. So we'll be back after this.
There you go.
All right, those of you on YouTube, hey, stick with us.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we'll go right into the next segment. You go ahead and bring us back, and then we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I have a feeling FedEx might be knocking at my door in like 5 to 10 minutes, so I might end up having to step away for about 5 seconds.
Yeah, well, I will continue while we do that, and then then obviously I'm running short on time, so I got that tournament I gotta head off to and get a bunch of stuff done for. So, all right, go ahead and bring us back, and. Cool.
And for those of you watching on YouTube, we will settle comments even if Scott has to go. I'll take care of any comments and questions you have at the end of the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in live on YouTube. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that pretty little bell, and all that fun stuff. All right, you good, bud?
I'm good.
All right, and welcome back, everybody, to episode 197 of Let Me Get That Podagraph. Unless you're watching on YouTube, then you're watching this really weird segue. But welcome back, everybody, on the audio platform. So, Scott, man, we talked about Panini. We talked about Topps earlier in the show. Now we got to segue a little bit over to a company we don't talk much about, often, at least when it comes to controversy, things like that. But a couple of changes in the works, and one's a big one.
Yep. Brian Gray out at Leaf.
Yes.
Like literally a couple hours after we released last week's episode, this happened.
Yeah.
And nobody is really sure why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people know why. Some people just can't talk about why. But Leaf put out a release saying Brian has stepped down as CEO of the company. Supposedly they were looking for, they were going to say they were going to announce his replacement, and a couple days later.
That Brian Gray picked.
Yes. Sure enough, announced his replacement. Kevin, what's his last name? O'Neill. Thank you. Kevin O'Neill. I knew it was an O something. I just remember as, O'Neill.
Kevin O'Neill. Very familiar name.
Yeah.
We just talked about him a little while ago when he moved positions from Southern Hobby to Beckett. He had worked with Topps before. I mean, this dude's been in very big positions in the hobby for a very long time. So it's a name that I didn't expect to hear.
No.
But it's a name that makes sense. It makes sense to me that it's someone that Brian Gray, because Brian did handpick the person to replace him. It would make sense to me that Brian would pick somebody like Kevin.
Exactly, especially considering Leaf's ties with Beckett.
Yes.
They use Beckett for a lot of their authentication, a lot of their slabbing, for the products that they, that aren't buybacks and things like that. They're not that far from each other office-wise.
Miles away.
No, exactly. And Kevin's a guy that it really has been known in the hobby for a long time. So that brings up a lot of, questions.
Yeah.
What's going to happen going forward? Is Leaf going to be making any major changes as far as products, product design? Are they positioning themselves to, try to jump in the fray if, for some reason the Panini and Fanatics lawsuits, turn out the way, and all of a sudden these contracts have to go out for bids and, things like that. But then it also brings up what's going to happen at Beckett.
Yeah.
Because again, they just, they made some changes a couple weeks ago. Jeremy Murray is out.
Yeah.
As president of the company. Look, Beckett, took a dive during the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. And, but the reality is him and Steve Grad really helped keep that company afloat.
Are you kidding me? Yes.
they wouldn't be here, if it weren't for those two guys.
I'm just going to say this. That's the dumbest scapegoat firing ever with Jeremy, but, keep going.
Oh, yeah, hands down. But what happens there? Because, again, Kevin just became CEO a couple months ago.
I know.
Are the two companies, we didn't hear anything from Beckett about him leaving.
No.
Is he going to try to do two roles?
I have a feeling that that's exactly what's going on. I have a feeling that the implementation of Leaf into Beckett,
and that's where I was going. That's where I was going with it. Are the two companies going to merge?
I have a feeling. I'm very, 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 very confident that Southern Hobby, Beckett, Leaf, all that stuff, with Southern Hobby especially getting pushed out of Fanatics, Fanatics isn't doing distribution and stuff through them. Eventually, they're phasing that stuff out. Not a lot of people might not know that, but they are with Southern Hobby, who's one of the bigger distributors besides maybe Peachtree in the country. I see that as Beckett kind of taking in multiple different roles, taking in probably Southern Hobby in a way, since they're already basically under the same umbrella. I kind of see them pulling Leaf into this portfolio. That's where I see this going. And that's also a reason that I think probably contributed to Brian not wanting to be there. Now, we're not going to get too much into Brian's reasoning and the reasoning behind this change. We're going to focus on the change. But I do think that I think that this is happening. I think that Beckett and Leaf are doing some type of partnership, some type of something. And I think this is the first step towards it.
Yeah. And again, speculation. But at the same time, it makes sense.
Well, like you said, Beckett hasn't said anything about it. And it's literally one of their CEOs. He's moving over to Leaf. He was just brought in there, worked with Southern Hobby before. Now, I do think we see a lot of changes at Leaf. I do. I think that, Brian was a very big risk taker. Brian was very loud. He was very out there. I do think you're going to see a lot different version of Leaf going forward. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. And whether that influences from Beckett or not, I don't know. But something tells me that putting him in place there was almost a strategic move to start some type of a major agreement or partnership with them. As you look at the landscape of the hobby right now, and everything's kind of getting condensed with Fanatics and a couple other companies. Beckett's kind of been, like you said before, they had a down year. They've kind of been left out of everything. They're kind of a third or fourth thought right now. I think this is probably going to be one of their ways to, cause some commotion, shake it up a little bit, and try and do something with the resources that they have left. Because it doesn't look like any big deal or anything is going to be struck with Fanatics, or otherwise I think it already would have been done. And so I think they're looking at stuff like this, and it makes sense.
Yeah, no, I would agree. We'll see what happens with it. Coming out. So
but Brian Gray out at Leaf, and what was crazy? He was out like 2 or 3 days before his 12th anniversary at the company, or 13th year at the company. It was really weird. But riding off into the sunset at Leaf. Now, a lot of people are speculating that Brian Gray is going to Fanatics. I would put a lot of money against that.
Yeah, I would too. Knowing
almost all of my money, if I had.
Knowing Brian. And so I can't see him going to Fanatics.
Me neither, and not after the conversation I had with him on the phone after I found this news out. He was.
And honestly, I don't think he's going to end up with one of the major card manufacturers. However, if he were to, I would actually put my money on Upper Deck.
Me too. Yep.
That would be the one.
Any company, it'd be Upper Deck.
Exactly. I can't see him going to Panini. Can't see him going to Fanatics.
No.
Upper Deck would be where I would put my bets, but even that, I still think is a long shot.
Yeah, my money is on we're going to see him with something new. I don't think you're done. You're not done seeing Brian Gray in the hobby. I can tell you that much. He's not going to disappear from this industry whatsoever. I think you're going to see him come up with something new, something different. And, I think it was just that time, like we said before, a lot of people know some of the inner workings and everything that was going on. But Brian Gray out as Leaf CEO, Kevin O'Neill in. And what the hell does that mean for Beckett and Leaf? And, I think at least there's a partnership coming up. I think we got some news on that front.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll let you know as soon as we do.
Yeah.
But all right, one final segment before we get out of here. It is September 1st, early in the month. Let's take a look at the release calendar for what we got coming up for the month of September.
Now, see, I didn't. We decided to do this segment last minute while you pull it up. So I honestly haven't looked at the release date calendar this month. So
I like doing it
for me.
I like doing it when I've already got it pulled up, had it pulled up for the entire show. But I actually like going through it when you don't look at it because you get a legit reaction out of you as to what's excited. Exactly. What's exciting. All right, so coming out today, we've got Donruss Elite Football. We've got 22-23 Panini Mosaic Basketball.
Did you say Donruss Football today?
Yeah, 2023 Donruss Elite Football.
Elite. Okay.
Yeah, Elite. Okay. Donruss Elite. It should be called Panini Elite, but they kept the Donruss name.
Yeah.
All right, also coming out today, and this one's actually exciting, not sports related, Topps Stranger Things Season 4.
Oh, okay. Nice.
On the 6th, next week, we've got Spectra Basketball. We also have Topps UEFA Club Competition's Finest. Soccer product, which again, that used to be called Champions League Finest. Now it's Club Competition, and I really hate that they had to rename that. Let's see what else we got here. 2023 Immaculate Baseballs coming out on the 8th. We've got big one, real big one, September 13th, Bowman Chrome Baseball.
Nice.
Shelves. Bringing up Leaf also on the same day. We also have Signature Series Baseball. As well as Panini Plates and Patches Football.
Nice.
Something called Pieces of the Past 7-Year Collection Series 2. I have no idea what that is. I haven't looked at that.
That's the historical.
Yes, that's right. All right, we'll skip over that one. 21-22 Upper Deck Premier Hockey.
What year?
21-22. Yeah, I know.
Sorry, I just like laughing at it.
Well, and along the lines with delayed Upper Deck, also the same day, 21-22 Ultimate Collection Hockey, and for you wrestling fans, 2022 Upper Deck AEW Allure.
Which is nice. Good. AEW is getting the Allure treatment. I like that.
15th, we got Leaf Exotic Football. Chronicles UFC comes out on the 20th. Contenders Optic Basketball from the 22-23 season on the 20th as well.
That's a big one.
2022 Flawless Football as well on the same day. And let's see here, 2023 Mosaic Football.
Wow.
That day as well. Again, another 2023 product. Select Baseball on the 22nd. Also on the 22nd, going outside of sports, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet 151 is coming out on the 22nd. One of my favorite products of the year on the 22nd, Allen and Ginter Baseball.
Yes.
Although it's obviously there's other non-baseball in there. Another one I'm excited about on the 27th, we have Topps Chrome McDonald's All-American from the 2023 season.
Just shows the Bronny James autos. They just previewed those the other day.
Exactly. So that one I'm excited to see. And then we've got a bunch of stuff that's still to be determined on dates. Topps Major League Soccer is supposed to be coming out. And again, I think that was delayed because they wanted to get messy in there.
Yes.
We've got some 22-23 season hockey. Looks like Upper Deck is bringing back Parkhurst Champions. As well as SP Game Used and SPX.
Okay.
And then 2023 Upper Deck Marvel Premiere is another one, as well as a Upper Deck Marvel Anime. But there's another Upper Deck one that I saw earlier in the season, early in the list.
The ones that I'm most excited, that's a big month for releases. With Allen and Ginter, I'm praying that they help me finish my Gaslight Anthem set that's right here.
Yep, there you go.
There's only 2 members left. Come on, guys, put them in this year. But
yeah, or at least one this year and one next year.
And one next year. Yeah, it's been one every year, but I'm hoping that they can finish that set because I want to finish it. But yeah, Allen Ginter, Flawless, Contenders, Optic Basketball. It's a lot of big releases there, man. And
exactly.
MLS, if it comes out and has Messi, I mean, shit.
Yeah, but this is gonna be sneaky, and this is gonna be big for all you gaming guys out there. I believe it's the 27th. Yes, 27th. Blizzard Upper Deck's Blizzard Legacy Collection is coming out, and it's going to have cards from Diablo, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Overwatch, Warcraft, a bunch of other gaming cards. And I was looking at the sell sheet on this. It's actually really cool looking stuff. Not a gaming guy, but I've got a feeling that's going to be a huge product.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of huge products, also Disney's Lorcana is also hitting shelves, retail shelves this week. It's been out. You've been able to get boxes some before, but Lorcana is hitting retail stores this week. However, retail stores were told, and I'm going to tell you this now, to put it out, but do not be prepared to put it out again. So I don't know if they're going to do multiple printings. I have a feeling if I'm Disney, I don't see Disney doing anything very limited. So I have a feeling you're going to have a million runs of this eventually. But I think they're going to slow roll it so it doesn't feel as flooded at once. But Lorcana is out also. But that's a pretty solid month for releases, man. I mean, elite football, instead those football releases, I'm telling you, we're gonna focus a lot next week on football and a couple of sales and some other stuff that we want to discuss. And being a season's going to be kicking off, we'll be focusing a lot on football next week. But those products like Elite and things like that, you really need to keep an eye on them, especially for this year, because
those may be, depending on what happens with the NFLPA laws and things like that, those may be the only products that end up getting released in 2023.
Yeah, well, because the injunction that Panini filed was shot down. So now, if you guys didn't know that as an update, yes, the injunction Panini filed to stop this from happening was shot down. So they are moving forward with the Players Association giving the rights to Topps immediately. Panini is ignoring everything and continuing to release products and continuing to try and solicit to stores and vendors, although no new products have been paid for yet. Elite is the last product that hobby shops or anywhere have already pre-ordered and paid for that they're getting. So we really,
and I think that may be why. I think that may be why Panini has said.
Valuable.
Yeah, I think that may be why Panini has said, "Screw it, let's release this," because they've already got the money for it, and if they're smart, they'll just put that money aside, just
Send
in
it
case.
A wild card.
Well, just in case, they wind up losing, their lawsuit, because that money is going to wind up having to transfer as well, because they obviously weren't supposed to release any of the 2023 stuff. So, keep an eye on that. That's going to be a very interesting product to watch this year.
Yep.
Because again, that may be the only,
maybe the last product. Yeah.
But I've got a feeling if Panini is ignoring it, then Topps is going to ignore it as well and start printing cards for 2023 too. And now all of a sudden you're going to see a very interesting year.
Oh, this is going to be football is going to be very interesting on the card side of things, and not one person on the field is going to have to do anything worthwhile for a lot of eyes and attention to be on it.
Well, that was going to be the case anyway, because so many people speculate about all of the players that are going to make it. We'll talk about that next week, though.
There you go. Now, on that note, Scott, I think it's probably a good time to wrap up this week's show. What do you think?
I agree. Good place to end it.
Good deal. I do want to thank all of our awesome sponsors. Of course, Zion Cases, Show Your Slabs, Slab Strong, Denver Card Shows, Stand-Up Displays, Card Ladder, Game Time Sports Cards, and Treasure Hunters. We greatly appreciate all you guys do for the show. We could not do it without you. Make sure to check out Hobby Hotline. I believe I'm on there next week, but every single Saturday, 11 a.m. on Bench Clear Media. Make sure to like and subscribe, follow the YouTube page, check out all the socials. We're also upping the amount of content we put on the good old TikToker. So go on over and follow whatever those are. I don't know what you call it when you put up a TikTok, or if it's a TikTok or what it is. So
I don't use TikTok. I refuse to use TikTok.
But you can check ours out. We got some really cool stuff on there. But yeah, until next week, you guys know the deal. Keep ripping those packs, pulling those hits, and we'll talk to you then. Peace. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Scott, I know you've got to go coach soccer.
Well, we'll see. No, ref.
Ref soccer.
Not coach.
Ref soccer. The easy shit.
The easy. Yes. Put you on my end of the field and see how easy you think that is. Oh, dude, it's a weekend of abuse is really what it's
I know it is.
But I can stick around for a couple minutes as we get a couple of these questions out.
Thank you, Christopher, and everyone else that did tune in today. Let's see. Yeah, Christopher, I don't think Topps will admit that they short printed any MVP candidates. I'm not expecting them to come out and say they short printed any MVP candidates. Just based on all the boxes I've opened, it definitely feels like, unless I hit about 7 or 8 different boxes straight with a Mookie Betts, a Freddie Freeman, or a Matt Olson frickin' base card, I'm sorry. I'm going to continue to believe that they're short printed.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I'm going to agree with that.
Yeah.
Like I said, until we see a bunch of stuff, or maybe, I don't know, who knows, maybe they were holding them back. Yeah. And they got packed out I don't want to say they did a second run of printing, but they sometimes will do a second
distribution.
Second distribution. It's very possible that those guys were held back until the second distribution. And whether or not they were going to be included in there, things like that. There's all sorts of things that they can do if they think that, maybe they're not going to be the MVP and all of a sudden they wind up releasing a bunch of these cards.
Yeah. Really quick, just to go back to the very beginning of the show, talking about the Wander situation, discussing it, Drew, better than just ignoring it completely and treating it like it didn't happen. When we ignore shit, we invite it to happen again. I completely agree. That's why we talk about it.
But there are ways, and again, you had mentioned it was a very difficult decision, but there are ways to discuss it that are
it was never a question.
Yeah.
It was never a question of if we were going to talk about it. It was a question. The part that I struggled with, and when I was talking about that earlier in the show, was not wanting to talk about it. Of course, we're going to, but that doesn't mean it's something I'm looking forward to, and something that and I think the article that we mentioned from Iowa Dave does a good job of showing you, the right way to handle that, and I'm glad that he thought that we did. I would take that as a pat on the back any day of the week. I'm glad that is shown through. As like we always say, we try and be reporters here and report on the hobby as long as editorialize with you guys as well. But we, try and keep it professional and keep it a little bit different.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Well, that is going to wrap up this week's show. Thank you guys for sticking around on YouTube. Make sure to check out every episode live. We'll be back on the Wednesday schedule next week. So we will be live on Wednesday. You'll be able to check out the show. Feel free to come in, leave any questions, comments you may have. I'm going to focus a lot on the NFL. A very questionable and interesting Justin Jefferson sale that I can't wait to talk about. Maybe give you guys a couple of hints on how to list your cards right on eBay if you miss out on a shitload of money, apparently, and a lot of other really cool stuff. So we'll also have some cool exclusives throughout the week on socials, on video, so make sure to check that out as well. But thank you guys for tuning in on YouTube. Again, hit that like, subscribe button, the little bell dingy thing, anything you got to press on YouTube. You guys know what to do. But see you guys next week. Peace.